Of course, a few days after the torture of SmackDown every week is WWE Raw. Jim, let's talk about what you watched on Raw, which aired last night as we are recording.
Well, I'll tell you what it was. Hold on here. I've got to find the proper page. They were in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And I think every time they build an arena, it's next door to Lambeau Field, because when I was there 30 years ago, we were doing TV at the old building next to Lambeau Field. And again, there's two news-making things, one in a negative fashion, unfortunately, from this, one in more positive. But otherwise, I mean, it's 3 hours. We got the Dominic and Liv Morgan promo, and then Io Sky beat both of them up. And then we got another girls King of the Ring 4-way. And then we were 45 minutes into the show already. But then here comes Gunther. And he does a promo, and they're booing him, booing over him as he tries to speak like they were doing with Dom. But I think they like booing Gunther a little bit more on his promos rather than just working with, Dom sometimes as they did, because he was so annoying. But he promoted, hey, Jay was better at WrestleMania, but every other night I'm untouchable. And I've heard rumors about what's next for me. And the fans started chanting Goldberg because they couldn't even keep this secret. One would thought they could have put some kind of lid on this just for a couple weeks, but it's been out. But he said, no, not that guy, Seth Rollins. He's got the Money in the Bank contract, and I've got what he wants. And Seth said I was a target, so I'm right here. Seth Rollins, you want to fight? Here we go. And then they played Goldberg music. And the people blew because even though they had heard the scoop, they didn't know he was going to be right there, right then. And it got a big pop. And Brian, is it possible for a guy to look great from the waist up?
What are you saying?
Did you notice that?
No. What do you mean?
He looks great from the waist up, but he's walking crooked. There's some way or another that he's walking that you can tell that it reveals that he's a older gentleman with a history of injuries. I don't know what to say. You want the time to roll back, and upper body looked good, and he's got the face, but he was walking a little crooked. I'm wondering how good a shape he's going to be in for this thing.
Well, again, an athlete, got into wrestling, he's had a lot of injuries. I just thought he looked like he blew up.
What, coming to the ring?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he can throw the fucking martial arts blows and the kick and everything without. I think he's feeling the effects of age, but he's got oomph. When he got in the ring and did the promo, he's got some oomph to him. And it was quick, which it needs to be, usually both in terms of matches and promos for Goldberg. But a few months ago in Atlanta, you started something with me and my family, and I'm going to finish it in Atlanta. July 12th, that Saturday night's main event. You're mine because you're next. Yay! Here's the thing. And then Gunther just looked at him, because what are you going to do? This is probably better as a network television attraction than it would be a pay-per-view match, because do you think the pay-per-view audience, which is the premium live event, which is the most current, the most devoted, I don't know they want to see this, because I think they probably like Gunther maybe better than Goldberg. But on network television, Goldberg's, maybe got an older fan base. I think that's a huge attraction for NBC to be able to advertise that name.
I think so too. I actually think it's perfect for that. They got to hype it up. Part of it's on them. They got to get him on the Today Show, or they got to really hype up that Goldberg's going to be doing this. But he's a big name, and I think because WWE won the war and Goldberg pretty quickly went away to come back every now and then, people forget just how big a star he really was. And, WCW fucked that up. And some of the veterans behind the scenes really fucked that up.
And then WWF fucked it up the first time because of Vince. Yeah. But now Vince is gone, so they can actually get something out of it.
Yeah, well, they got something out of him when he came back and he beat Brock. That was actually one of my favorite short matches. That was a surprise, and the audience went crazy. And, I'm in the unique position where I like Bret Hart and I like Goldberg. I'm not influenced by either one of their problems with each other. I like them both. And I think if done right, it could be good. Now, he's working with a very physical guy in Gunther. That's another thing that's, again, I think they could pull it off because I think Gunther's smart, but it seems to be a bit of a style clash.
Well, actually, I don't think there is really. Bear me out for a second, because remember, we were hearing at one point that they may have been before all of the Vince McMahon stuff blew up the news, whatever. They may have been looking to Gunther and Brock Lesnar. And I wanted to see that so bad. And I think based on what they've done since then, they probably would have put Gunther over. And that would have been a tremendous thing to get Gunther over, is to beat Brock Lesnar. This is the same kind of thing. Goldberg is not going to tell Gunther, don't chop me hard. He's not going to no, don't hurt me. Gunther is brilliant. He's a master at laying out a match that's perfect for him, but that also takes into account his opponent and what they do or don't do or whatever, right? I've said he's usually his matches make such great sense. It's going to be probably short, intense, hard hitting. That's what people are going to expect. That's what both guys got over with. And I think that Gunther will be encouraged by Goldberg to do his shit, because Goldberg doesn't want to come off as a pussy, because he can't go 30 minutes at a high rate of speed at his age, and whatever doesn't mean he's going to say, don't chop me or don't slam me or whatever the fuck. So I think they can really, I'm looking forward to seeing it. Goldberg wants to, this is his retirement match that he's talked about. Apparently, he wants his kids to see him. He don't want to look like shit. Gunther's the perfect guy to fucking have a match with Gunther, where they're not going to be doing fucking leapfrogs and goddamn moonsaults. So I like the idea of the match, and I think therein lies the only question I've got. It shouldn't go long, and it shouldn't be a back and forth technical wrestling masterpiece. They need to hit each other hard for a short period of time. But what's the finish? Because Gunther's the champion, and there was comments put out, and I think Uncle Dave was behind it originally. I don't know, so that's why I don't take it as gospel. That's why they put the belt back on Gunther, because they wanted him to be the champion to face Goldberg. That doesn't really make a lot of sense, because I don't think they're going to make this for the belt. I don't know why they would. But at the same time, one would almost think that the fans would be happier at seeing Goldberg triumph in his hometown of Atlanta. And therefore, it especially would not make sense for the title to be on the line, because if the belt is on the line, Gunther has to win. If it's a non-title match, I would think Goldberg would win, but I would think that there would be some out for Gunther. I'm rambling now.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is we were told that his retirement match was coming. Is this the match? Because he was wearing a shirt that said like last ride or whatever, but they didn't say it, and I haven't seen anything bill it as the retirement match or final match.
Well, here's the thing. They're already doing a retirement tour, and I think we need to see Goldberg one more time in some type of blaze of glory. I don't think it needs to be repeated viewing. This doesn't need to be a multi-part miniseries. This should be the last time, maybe the last time. Oh, I know. It's got to be. You don't have a warm-up match against goddamn one of the world champions before your retirement match.
Well, we'll see what happens. I'm not expecting a 5-star classic, but I do want to see that match. A star from the past coming back to wrestle one of the biggest stars they have today. I'm intrigued by it.
If Gunther can be Johnny Valentine and fucking Goldberg can be Wahoo for about 7 or 8 minutes.
Well, there's an important question. You say 7 or 8 minutes. Should it go that long?
Well, I mean, you don't want to, on either guy's part, you don't want to just fucking let people down that they didn't see hardly anything. But I think that you can create chaos in under 10 minutes that still everybody would be able to keep up with on a cardiovascular basis.
We've received a few emails about it recently, so I'll just sum them up for a question for you about this because it kind of relates. Do you think WWE is setting up Gunther for a babyface run?
I don't know necessarily that they're setting him up for a babyface run, except that they're allowing him to fill a kind of a spot that isn't filled and doesn't normally, there's not a lot of guys usually that are good at it. In that he's the old kind of world champion where he's most of the time an obnoxious prick, but he has some kind of honor to him that he won't go as far as some of the heels. And it fits him. It's his gimmick that he wants to physically intimidate and dominate and be better than people. And sometimes he doesn't necessarily want to cheat to do that just because he wants to prove something to himself. The people admire his talent because he is tough, and boy, that chop lands, and goddamn, he's in great matches. So he's not going to ever work like a chicken shit heel. He's not going to work like Lex Luger, the narcissist, where he's the bodybuilder that, he's gorgeous. He's a fucking foreign German, Austrian prick, but you can respect his talent. And it's hard to find somebody that fits that spot. Well, you really can't find somebody put it in on purpose. It just has to kind of evolve that way, and they've recognized it, and they're going with it. So he could easily be the lesser of two evils against a really mealy-mouthed, obnoxious chicken shit heel like Dominic Mysterio. Because at least Gunther's a man. He's not like that fucking, blah, blah, blah. Or, whatever. You can find heels that have worse characteristics. He can be the babyface, but then he can try to goddamn disembowel Jey Uso in front of his children. And you're like, well, that motherfucker. It's very special to find a guy like that.
So do you think he should be a babyface? At some not right now, but like within a year, should they make him a babyface?
I don't think they really. The people will make him a babyface based on who they book him with. I don't know that anybody ought to ever actually just beat the fucking shit out of Gunther and have him sell like Ricky Morton, make him a babyface. I don't think that would be the way to go. I think you just start booking Gunther the way that, he could help somebody that he has respect for, that he's earned respect for, save them from a horrible beating. Or you could just start booking him with a hotter heel that people dislike more and give the people the reason to let him be the sympathetic figure. But I don't think you need to get juice on him and ruin his Austrian key to the city. That kind of baby face.
All right, well, we will see what happens with Gunther and Goldberg. But, Jim, there was at least one other thing of note on Raw. I don't know what happened after a certain point because I stopped watching, but there was an injury.
Hey, I know you've announced you stopped watching. I'll let the people know. Bailey and Becky did about a 15-minute promo, and there was another 4-man male King of the Ring match where the heels came out and just took over the match in full view of the referee, where there was no disqualification, and 18 people came out and fought. And again, I think that's the way you make people mad at the promotion, when it's just over and over. That no DQ, so that means the heel. Then why didn't the heels just come out 30 seconds into the show with a goddamn bazooka? If they can do it right in front of the referee anytime they want. But as you mentioned, there was one other thing, and this illustrates when we talked about the lawsuit against AEW and the crew member that was thrown to the ground by John Moxley or shoved to the ground and is suing because he had a serious injury. And people are looking at the video and they're going, well, that looks like bullshit. Just because these goofy ass wrestlers take all these insane bumps through furniture every week on television doesn't mean that you can't just get hurt just fucking up, right? Remember, Rhea Ripley separated her shoulder being run into the wall, but actually running into the wall on her own in a working way from, might have been Becky Lynch a while back. I can't remember who it was. Well, in this case, this was and this is to the point where people were asking if this was a work. Like, oh, did they just write her out because she's good at? No, this would have been the most horrible work in the history of works, and nobody would have cleared this idea to get out of the goddamn finish room to do it this way. Liv Morgan has a match with Kairi Sane, and they ring the bell, and literally, in the proper usage of that term, which everybody uses that word, but literally, this is literally the way the word should be used. Literally the first movement of the match. Liv goes for a thing and Kairi Sane ducks under it. And as Liv turns around, she goes for kind of a drop toe hold on Liv Morgan, where Liv will go face first, chest first, belly first, whatever, face down to the mat. And Kairi Sane was going to have the legs. And as soon as Liv went down and caught herself on the belly flop, she grabbed her arm and she winced in pain and she rolled out of the leg lock and rolled to the floor. And you saw her go down and be, leaned up against the barricade and holding her arm. And then they go back to shooting the ring. And then I think you might have seen one more quick shot of her, but then they go back to the ring and Kairi Sane now is like, what do I do? She's running, hitting the ropes and firing the people up or whatever. Not Doc Samson. He bailed out. He left the ship and went to the other company, but whoever their doctor is,
cut his hair.
Yeah, there you go. And he never has been the same Samson since he cut his hair. But anyway, whoever the doctor is, they went over to check on her off camera. They wouldn't shoot it. And then they just went to a break out of, the announcer is saying, oh, Liv is being checked by the doctor. And then they just went to break. And when they came back, the match was already over. They announced that she had been taken out. They showed a replay of them helping her out with her holding her arm. And then the announcers had to kill time for a while because the only match left was their main event four-way, and they weren't supposed to go this early. And then they got the word that it sounded like she had a separated shoulder. And it's believable because you never know. It can be a freak thing. And that's why we've always said so often, why are these guys taking all these ridiculous risks when it's already a risky profession? And now having said, again, this didn't look like anything to write home about, that you would take a bump like this in any normal match, but it's just the right way that it happens. Especially on something that you're not, if you're not thinking that you need to brace for something, or that something is so simple, or I've done this so often, or this is not the part where I'm going to hurt myself, that's sometimes when it happens. And the guy who had Adam Cole jumped off that ramp to just jump down to the floor that he'd probably done 100 times and broke his ankle or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, Punk jumping into the crowd, hit his foot on the guardrail, remember?
Yes. I mean, it's the shit that sometimes you're not prepared for, but things happen. But so if that's her shoulder, which they say it is, then that's going to be several months, I would think, just because it takes a while to get the mobility and the strength and everything back. But, again, it can happen at any point. So we're going back to the crew guy. he got shoved down on the floor. He wasn't even taking a bump in a ring that he was prepared for. You know, sometimes innocuous things, that's what killed him. You never know. But this was neither person's fault. This was just something that happened. Because I don't see how you could have guarded against this. I've never seen it happen that way before.
Yeah, we talk so much about stupid shit and stupid injuries that happen because of stupid shit. This is legitimately like one of those injuries that happens because you're a professional wrestler, period. No one did anything wrong. She landed on the mat. The commentators are right away trying to say like her elbow, but it was clear to me that it was her shoulder. And then she immediately rolled out and held it. They went to break.
Well, I think when they were talking about the elbow, it could have been a hyperextension. It wasn't like she hit the elbow, but see, when you go to with your hand, what probably popped her shoulder out was when she hit the mat just at the angle she was going and put her hands down and braced. Remember when Randy Orton, who had a history of shoulder issues and separations, he was doing his pound the mat thing, and he used to do it with his fists down rather than his forearms.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And there was a mat, he's doing that, getting ready to jump up and do his thing, and he pounded his fist on the mat and fucking dislocated his own shoulder. And so the thing is, you can do the same thing athletically 100 times, and on 101, your ankle, knee, shoulder, elbow, wrist, joint, something may give out. And in this case, it was probably the angle that instead of hyperextending the elbow, it jarred the shoulder out of socket at the joint up there. But that, again, yes, I just talked about Randy Orton being able to do it, but this girl is 125 pounds. So let's say you run into an oak tree with a Volkswagen. Volkswagen's probably going to come out the worst of it. But if you run into a fucking 8-foot Christmas tree with a Volkswagen, it's going to run over it. That's why I talk about the girls with the furniture and off the balcony and everything. You still have less muscle mass to protect you, less body weight, less thickness. And, so what did they say about Bruno Sammartino when Hansen lost him on a slam? If he hadn't had a neck that thick, it might have paralyzed him. So anyway, we wish Liv Morgan the best.
And then he trimmed down after that, actually, if you look at him, after that point. But yeah, I guess that's the saddest thing.
Yes, well, and a lot of times after injuries, in some cases, you have to trim down, or as you age, athletes, they have to get lighter to carry less weight to put less stress on the joints. But in some cases, it's a help, and some it's a hindrance.
Well, like you said, get well soon, Liv Morgan. She's been one of the highlights of this show. Whether she's in a match or whether she's just causing chaos at ringside, she has been, in many cases, single-handedly the reason these Judgment Day segments work in the back. I guess she'll still be involved in the show. She just won't be wrestling, but she's been one of the very best on this show. So you hate to see this.
But that's, again, it can happen anytime. Do not ask for whom the bump tolls. It tolls for thee.
Yeah, I know you didn't watch it. The 4-way women's match, the return of Asuka. Stephanie Vaquer is really fucking good. And again, I don't blame you. I can't watch these 4-way matches either, for the most part. I've told you I've enjoyed the women in WWE a lot more than the men recently.
Tell you what, the next time Stephanie's in a single match and it doesn't go a half an hour, I'll watch it just for you.
I don't know if there'll be a case of that, because every match is a 4-way or a 3-way match. When was the last time any of these people had one-on-one matches? I don't know. But we'll stay on top of that. Any other Raw thoughts?
Well, only that, again, the main event is just, it's going to be Jay and Cody in the semifinals, the King of the Ring. So that'll be somewhat interesting just to see what they do. But it's just Heyman's guys come out and in full view of the referee, fuck shit up. And then other people come out and interfere in the match in full view of the referee. And then Jay ended up winning it after a couple of splashes. But so it's not even a heel fuck, but it just makes the referee look incredibly ignorant when in 80% of the matches, he just has to stand there and watch people do whatever the fuck. and they wonder why they can't get heat on the heels anymore.
What do you think of the growing criticism of Paul Levesque's booking?
I don't know that it's rotten. I think it's very slow. I mean, again, all of the personalities are over, and most everybody is being used to the best of their abilities. I would love to see Gable a little more serious without the mask and blah, blah, blah. But the talent seems to be in the right place. And their stars and the people like them, they're over. It's just very little is happening these days. and for the long shows, I'm talking about, I don't mind having an interview with the top stars. Does it have to be as long as the average episode of I Love Lucy, etc.?
You know, Vince may have hated tag teams, but Paul Levesque hasn't figured out how to book an exciting tag team division because you've got some talent. I'm not going to say the Motor City Machine Guns aren't talented, but by and large, the tag team matches, more than the women's matches, they've changed roles. The tag team matches are the quietest matches of the night. The fans just sit there. They're not invested in any of the teams. They're not invested in anyone needing the belts. You know, again, he doesn't hate it like Vince hated tag team wrestling, but he doesn't know how to book a tag team division either.
Well, you can't have a tag team division that means anything unless some of the main event stars are in some of the tag teams. So that's the problem there. Again, you know, Guns are a great team, but they've been presented as the same as all these other dipshits in the middle in 4 ways and 3 ways and everybody's sniping amongst each other, and they're in their own little, you know, a quarantined world where they don't interact with CM Punk or Drew McIntyre or whatever the fuck, right? So that's why people don't care.
Well, Jim, that was Raw, and that's what's going on with WWE, and we'll stay on top of all this. But of course, someone who watched Raw and expected action, expected main eventers and main event matches, expected anything to happen over 3 hours besides unexpected injuries, you may want to sue.
Well, I'll tell you what. You know what you should have done out there, fellow? What's his name? Chris Dispensary?
Dispensary.
Chris Dispensary.
That's where he has to go now because of all the injuries he suffered.
He shouldn't have been stoned on the job, but also Chris Dispensary, if you wanted to sue a wrestling company, you should have gone to somebody with experience at it, like this man right here.
Call Stephen P. News. If you need to sue. An outlaw mud show or two. Still to the rest.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Stephen P. New at newlawoffice.com, 877-50-STEVE, has experience suing that very self-same wrestling company and others of the same ilk and people of a variety of ilks all over the country. So if you've got some ilk that you'd like to be sued, then you can go to Stephen P. New and he will get even for you in a court of law. Or if it necessitates it, he'll go out in the back parking lot. And I've seen Stephen P. New pull a slapjack out and just wear a son of a bitch's board out.
It will be in the courtroom with no slapjacks or blackjacks or anything
I'm
else.
telling you, he's going to take a slapjack to your gourd, and he's going to wear that thing out. Your gourd.
Is a slapjack the same as a blackjack?
A slapjack is a blackjack, except all slapjacks don't have to be black, but a blackjack would have to be black. But see, but I'll tell you what,
you taught me.
he will take it to your gourd, and after he finishes taking a slapjack to your gourd, he'll take it to your watermelon. But folks, one way or another, he's going to beat the shit out of some fruit right in front of you until you come up with some money. And then he's going to turn around and he's going to give it to his clients. Stephen P. New, newlawoffice.com, 877-50-STEVE. He can be heard in all of the deposition videos of Colin the Weasel Thompson on the Arcadian Vanguard YouTube channel that have been placed there and are continuing to be placed there. He's cross-examining. He's very cross on a cross-examination. Many people are in slack-jawed wonder at the incredible cross-examining that Stephen P. New is doing of certain weasels in the legal system. And you can hear it at Arcadian Vanguard, and you can experience it for yourself if you need some sorry son of a bitch got even with in a court of law.
That's right. From Slackjaw to Slapjack, Stephen P. New, 87750-STEVE. Get even with Stephen, newlawoffice.com.